Chapter 10. Judgment. The guard took me down the hall to the elevator where we joined up with some other inmates. We were all handcuffed, shackled, and told to stand facing the back of the elevator. It was humiliating. Like we were so hideous our faces shouldn't even be seen. We were taken to a garage and put in a transport van. It took just 5 minutes to reach the unloading area of the courthouse. We shuffled to the elevator for inmates. It was near the back of the main corridor, and no outsiders were allowed on it. The elevator took us to a jail at the top of the courthouse where they checked us in. I was one of the first prisoners to be let out. 3 other inmates were handcuffed to me, and we were taken to the courtroom. The judge came into the room after we sat down. I hoped my attorney had told me the truth and that I would be going home tonight. "All rise," said one of the guards. Everyone in the room stood, and we then sat in unison as the judge said, "You may be seated. Will the defendant please come forward?" A guard tapped me on the shoulder. I was uncuffed from the other inmates and walked over to the bench. My court-appointed attorney met me there. He smiled and nodded at me. "Sir, do you know why you are here?" "Yes, ma'am," I replied. This time I actually did know. "And why are we here?" "It's the end of my 90 days, and you're going to decide about me going to prison," I said. "That's correct. Now, I've spoken to the DA, and I've also spoken to your lawyer. From what I understand, you have not been in any trouble in jail. I don't see any contact with the jail staff." "No, ma'am." "Sir, the district attorney has filed a motion to dismiss application to revoke the suspended sentence. Based upon the information I have here, I am going to grant the dismissal. What this means is that once the paperwork is processed, you will be released." "Yes, ma'am, thank you." I was so relieved I almost fell down. "Now, don't get too excited." The judge took her glasses off and held them in her left hand. She paused. "I want to make something perfectly clear. You are getting a second chance. There will not be a third." The judge was using her left hand for emphasis. Each time she said an important word, she pointed her glasses at me. "If you come back before me with any trouble at all, and I mean any, and the DA files another application to revoke your suspended sentence, I will grant it. You will go to prison for the maximum amount of time allowed by law. Do you understand?" "Yes, ma'am." This time, I knew there would not be any more trouble. This was going to be the last time I had appeared before this judge, or any other. "You are excused." The judge signed some papers and handed them to one of the guards. And with that, I was on my way out. I didn't know how long it would take for the paperwork to process, but I did know that I would not wake up in jail tomorrow. I was escorted back to the other prisoners and handcuffed at the end of the line. All of us were taken back to the jail, but I was left in the holding area. I can't believe it. I'm really getting out of here tonight. All I could think about was taking a real shower, sleeping in a real bed, eating real food. I couldn't wait to get the stench of the jail off of me. I sat in the holding area for some time. Each time a guard walked by the window, I was certain it would be the one to bring me my street clothes and take me to the processing area. Each time, the guard passed by. Another inmate was brought in. I had seen him in the jail, but I didn't know who he was. "Getting out?" asked the stranger. "Yeah, just as soon as they process my papers." "Don't be in too big of a hurry. Probably won't be until after midnight." My heart dropped. How was I going to last until midnight? The other inmate stretched out on a bench and fell asleep almost immediately. Dinner came. I let my new cellmate eat my portion. Even if I do get released after midnight, I can eat then. I couldn't stand the thought of another bologna sandwich. I dozed off and woke up to the sound of the cell door sliding open. A guard walked in and called my name. "Time to go." I opened my eyes and shook off the sleep. I walked out of the cell and made my way to the processing area. Another guard handed me a plastic bag that held all my belongings I arrived with. My wallet, some loose change, and the keys to Mom's house. It also had the book Malcolm had given me. I signed a sheet of papers stating I had received all of my possessions. Another guard handed me my street clothes. I changed clothes and made my way down the hall. I stopped at a locked metal door and paused. Someone watching through a camera pressed a button and triggered the lock. I pushed on the door, took 3 steps, and turned left. I followed the corridor around to the main desk. I showed the guard there the paperwork I had been given. The guard nodded, motioned for me to come forward, and grabbed my left hand. The guard took it and used a rubber stamp to mark it. I looked down. The mark said, "Released." I smiled and walked to the front door, just a few feet away. I took the final step and went outside, no longer a prisoner. I was not the same person I had been when I was locked up. Malcolm had taught me how to be a new person, and I had done everything I could to change in jail. But now I was on the outside. The changes I would make on the outside weren't just in my mind or thoughts. They would be in the way I acted. I had never been as excited about anything as I was about starting my new life. As the jail's front door was closing, I glanced back to the main desk. The clock above it read 3:55.